Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Rob Liefeld Day, so we are looking at the next issue in his X-Force run. That is X-Force number 3. Did I skip over issue 2? I did not, but I actually reviewed that one way early when the channel started, so you can check that out in the historics, but we are going to focus on issue 3 for today. Didn't know it at the time when I bought this comic, but it was a part 1 and to be continued into Spider-Man issue 16, which originally back in the day I never got on the newsstand, never saw it. I wasn't even really aware of how comics worked at that point when I was buying these first few X-Force issues, right? I actually started with the number 2, and this is like my second X-Force issue. So I was just, looking at the art and trying to draw some of the stuff that I saw inside. So this is a very important issue for me at that level. I drew and copied a lot of the stuff in here. And the fact that eventually, once I found out that it was a kind of a crossover with Spider-Man and then finished in X-Force number 4, I was able to get all those issues and read it. And there's just something I really like about this crossover. Not that it's anything super special, but, to see Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane at the height of their, friendship, I guess you could call it at that time. If you know a little bit about the Image history, it's just fun to see them, trying fun stuff and doing stuff together. With this cover here, do you want to mention, people will crap on Rob Liefeld, but there's something about the way he drew Spider-Man here. I wish he had done this bigger or something, but I think it's very good. Something I enjoy there, that people always point out that he's always got the ass sticking out when he's drawing Spider-Man. I guess that's kind of true. We'll see other representations inside here, but Rob Liefeld Spider-Man is pretty rare, so you take it when you can get it. Here, maybe this is one of the covers where that trope started, that Rob Liefeld doesn't draw feet or hates drawn feet. Because clearly, with the bit of mountain here and some of the dust that's here in the front, it just covers up the complicated bits you don't want to draw, although we can see Shatterstar's feet here. And I do want to mention, this issue, a lot of images were lifted and copied, so swiped basically by John Byrne in an issue of She-Hulk. I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but it's pretty hilarious to check it out. He mimics Rob Liefeld's, loose hatching and stylistic tics pretty well, I gotta say, but it's coming from a kind of mean-spirited place, but it's still a fun kind of artifact to see. So a lot of the stuff that he lifted in there, he lifted from this comic here. She-Hulk's fighting, I think it's one of those, like the old Hulk, right? Before the Green Hulk, there was this furry white Hulk. Look it up, the Atlas Monster Comics. So Juggernaut kind of takes, the Hulk, the old school Hulk, takes on the postures of the Juggernaut, and She-Hulk takes on the postures of, I'm going to open this up, Siren. Oh, also do want to mention, I think Cable's costume within this crossover would have been a lot cooler if he had been colored more, maybe like this cover here, where there's a bit more variety. Maybe there's some flashy silver bits, but there's some brown and some blue. But the way he's drawn and colored on the inside, as you'll see, is just as a big kind of shiny one piece kind of deal where everything's the same color. I guess it's easier to color that way, but yeah, I don't know if it has as much effect as it does on the cover. So this is a shot where you can see She-Hulk in that John Byrne comic in Siren's positions, right? So a lot of the layouts are taken from here. So what is the story here? Siren has found out that the World Trade Center, some businessmen, including Gideon and Sunspot, have been taken hostage by Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. And that's basically what you need to know, I guess. And if I'm not mistaken, these are literally lifts from last issue, issue 2, and stats photocopies and just popped in here, which is cool. It works. Not against doing that. This, John Byrne definitely ripped off this whole pose here in that She-Hulk comic. Check it out. Pretty quick 2-page splash to get through here, Rob, but, still doing it with this verve and energy. And I gotta say, we are right now in what I consider peak Liefeld, and although some drawings might be a little lackluster, there's a lot of great stuff in here and stuff that I was super excited about when I was 10 years old, right? That's a great kind of punch in the face there. He's doing the 90s vertical. Love it. Yeah, so I poured over these comics. I copied stuff from these comics over and over and over when I was drawing as a kid. And I mean, you can tell, some stuff is, the position of her face here is a little odd, right? It's a little down on the body. There's some proportion things, some of the backgrounds, how they're finished off. But I mean, hey, the power and energy were there. That's kind of what we're into at that time, right? That's kind of what's interesting about this period of Liefeld, right? The way things move. And here's an example. We'll see, I think maybe one or two more of these. I have to believe that this page was probably thumbnailed and kind of penciled loosely by Rob Liefeld, and it was inked by Erik Larsen. That is some Erik Larsen inking if I've ever seen it. Even some of the way he's finished faces and stuff is almost more Erik Larsen than Rob Liefeld, at least in the finish. You can tell, like, that's more than likely inked over a Rob Liefeld face for sure. You know, Erik Larsen brings something to the pencils, I gotta say. You know, a whole comic like that would have been interesting. It's a little jarring. Even as a kid, I didn't know exactly, but I was like, there's something weird about this page when I would see it, right? Kind of jumped out for aesthetic reasons. I love the shorthand he's got here of the ship opening up and letting Siren in, and just these like Cubert blocks, which I guess are supposed to be buildings. So I guess they are in New York City, so there's only, you know, New York City is known for only having 4 or 5 skyscrapers. This dramatic shot of Cable is really cool. All the hatching, you know, when the hatching kind of becomes shading, I think is, you know, I guess that's what Rob Liefeld was going for. So it can, like, it just makes this shot look cool, I think. And yeah, this kind of era Rob Liefeld team shot, you know, he does it in Youngblood and stuff. I just love that stuff. Again, here's the Cable new design he's got here. The Spaceman Cable is what I'd call him, because it's the spaciest of the costumes. Really goes out there. But yeah, all colored silver like that, I don't think it has as much impact as the way it was colored on the cover. Always thought this shot was cool of Warpath, right? But over here, even as a kid, I my first thought was always, man, his butt looks like 2 tennis balls, right? So funny. And for the longest time, this is how I drew butts as well. Because when you're drawing superheroes and skin-tight costumes and stuff, well, you're going to have to draw butts at some point. Yeah, the Liefeld silhouette here, where the proportions just kind of drop, even though they're big guys. I mean, they're not shaped like this, right? This panel, man, that must have taken all of, like, a minute. And then Rob spent time on this stuff here. He even spent, you know, quite, if you look at this little shot of Warpath kind of surfing Juggernaut there, it's fairly detailed for such a small shot of those 2 characters. And again, he's being smart with the double page splash, where he's still giving us a bit of storytelling with these insert panels. And then we get the big cool shot of the team once again coming down. Another, again, classic kind of team shot that Liefeld's given us in this one issue. Liefeld just going ham with Cable's costume, just going way out there. I don't know if he's, like, you know, where he's getting the ideas from this. Maybe a little bit of Universal Soldier at the time or something. I don't know. The big padding on the inside there, I don't know where you got that. And you'll see Cable's thighs, you know, bloom to a ridiculous size throughout this issue. Always wondered a little bit about Cannonball's direction here. I thought it was a little odd in the shot, but again, I don't question it too much because, you know, you got a cool shot here. Definitely doing the diagonal right. And yeah, there's some interesting here, the blues that are kind of added in on top of Shatterstar here. I don't know what happens. Something weird with the coloring happens here. It's like, there's always, during this period of Rob Liefeld comics and even Todd McFarlane comics at Marvel, it's like these little windows into experimentation with, you know, just different color techniques or different, you know, rendering techniques that kind of fly under the radar. And we'll talk more about next issue of X-Force, because we'll talk a lot more about the coloring. I should mention the credits just to be safe, just so when I do mention next issue, talk about the colors in the credits. They're, you know, I mentioned the difference. Sorry, missed the credits. Rob Liefeld, plot and pictures. Fabian Nychese is how I'm going to call him from now on. Words and whining. Chris Eliopoulos, letters and fluffy hair. And Joe Rosas, color and sunshine. So Joe Rosas is doing the color. Next issue, someone else's, and it's going to get kind of interesting. And yeah, just an interesting choice here. Is it a mistake? I don't know, but just, I like the colors on this page. Something about it. This would be another page inked by Erik Larsen, right? You can see a lot of the hatching and the shadows there. More, definitely more of a Larsen line that we're seeing there all across the textures of the costume, shading and stuff. Those are definitely Erik Larsen lines. You know, this looks a bit more like Liefeld, but this face here has been Larsenized, if I can use that as a word. Definitely a Rob Liefeld running pose, though, right? You can recognize those. So, good example of how the art styles mesh, right? The layouts of Liefeld, but the inking of Larsen. I figure Larsen's helping out a little bit with the proportions here and there. may have mentioned it before, Larson also draws this splash here of the X-Men. So we got some more conflict, obviously, between our, in this case, Gideon and Sunspot have been fighting back against their captors, and it's not really working out for them. Sunspot was always kind of hit or miss, I guess, in the representation here. I don't know how well this works here. You know, who's doing most of the Kirby Crackle here? It almost looks like an assistant maybe did that, or Rob Liefeld, again, did it really quick. Never felt it quite worked with Sunspot with all artists. Not a cool kind of visual look if you don't do it right. I feel like you should have actual chunks of the Kirby Crackle coming off of his form directly, right? Like coming out of the mass and the silhouette of it. So yeah, here's a page where, I mean, look at these thighs are just insanely huge. You know, he for lack of a better term, he looks like some sort of like, you know, robotic turkey or chicken in this shot here. Never really saw it as a kid, but now that I'm looking at it, yeah, like the top part's fine and the legs just go fucking crazy bad shit. Always like this shot here, Warpath punching Juggernaut. Thought it was cool. You know, Liefeld really playing with the proportions. He's made Juggernaut really big, but I mean, Warpath's already huge, so Juggernaut is just like 4 stories high here, it seems. Some of this almost kind of a Jim Lee vibe with the Juggernaut here in the rendering. And always like this shot down here. I don't know exactly what it is. There's something about the line quality, a bit of the shading there. Always thought that was a cool panel. Nice crop. It was probably pretty quick to draw, right? And then we get, you know, just about our biggest, coolest Spider-Man shot by Rob Liefeld that we'll ever get. Other than covers he's done more recently, but I still prefer his past style like this on Spider-Man than what he's been doing more recently. And by recent, I mean maybe in the last 15 years. So Spider-Man just kind of comes upon the situation here. So, you know, like most Rob Liefeld stories, characters are just kind of doing nothing and then something happens. And that something is a huge explosion at the World Trade Center. Ooh, that'll get a little prickly 10 years later, I guess. 1991 this is printed. Yeah, so 2001. 9/11. And that's how we end this issue here with a shot of Spider-Man saying, uh-oh, and to be continued, Spider-Man number 16. Remember seeing that as a kid, and I could not at the newsstand find Spider-Man issue 16, or I feel like I've got this memory, like I saw the art and I thought it looked kind of weird compared to Rob Liefeld because I didn't know Tom McFarlane quite yet, and maybe decided not to buy it. Like maybe I remember not liking Tom McFarlane right off the bat. So maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, never got it back in the day. Eventually did. And we'll be reviewing that issue, Spider-Man 16, tomorrow on Big Baby Reviews.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.